Hey everyone, Dave Weiss with Dave's Bonsai, and today the theme of the video is going to be air layering. I got a couple of Japanese maples at the Minnesota Bonsai Society fall auction last year, end of 2017, and got some great trees at great prices. If you have a club in your neighborhood, check it out, check the auction. You can get a lot of good material if they have an auction. The Minnesota Bonsai auction happens twice a year. I got this plant right here, these Japanese maples, all of them for under 20 bucks each. This one was probably the more expensive one, has a little more movement, a little bit thicker trunk. This one was probably $15 or $18, I believe. Don't remember the exact price on that. I'm going to set that one down here. And then this guy here, same price, 12, 18 bucks or so. Some nice ramification up top, but it's tall. I'm going to shorten it up and probably repot this in the next video. All kinds of roots just growing all over the bottom of this pot and on the surface. This thing is ready to repot this spring for sure. And what we're doing today, though, is the one on the spin wheel here. Oh yeah, this tall little thing. So when you're at an auction, you never know what you're going to get. And of course, people who are not familiar with bonsai will look at this and say, well, this doesn't look at all like a bonsai. Of course it doesn't now. We hope to get it to one someday. I've got some decent couple branches going right here. This small one right here. A couple of buds over here ready to go. One's going to pop right here. This guy right here and here and here. And I can cut this tree off right here and lower the size of this tree instantly and get some good growth and let this grow throughout the year. But instead of wasting all of this and perhaps too thick of a tree for a cutting, although I've not tried Japanese maple, but I do know that they respond pretty well to air layering. So I've got this nice little section right here which shows another bit of a curve. You can see that curve going on right there. That could provide the good base of another trunk. We'll get some growth there. We'll leave most of this up here. This one is growing. I know it's too high for you to see, but we've got some early buds going out right now. And I was told that early March you could get these things air layered and get some roots here by summertime. So I'm going to give it a shot with this one. It's my least desirable looking tree. I'm not afraid if this one has some damage to it. And it just has a lot of space to air layer. So we're going to air layer today. So just today I was able to get out and go get some cellophane wrap. So just like your saran wrap, or if you ever worked at a place where you shrink wrap a pallet of some stuff, this is going to go on to wrap, you'll see, wrap around our tree, wrap around the bag that holds the sphagnum moss. I've got some rooting powder here. We're going to use that in a little bit. I've got my brushes. Brushes are going to be to put that rooting powder on, give it a good dab. You're going to need a little bit of tape. If you can't fix it with duct tape, you probably can't fix it right. We're going to use some duct tape. Not worried about any residue being left on the trunk for this project because that part of the trunk will be cut off. So I've got some tape. I've got my assortment of tools. I've got my Leatherman and a carving tool. I also have a wood carving tool. Mostly I'm going to use my knife here and my Leatherman so I can make sure that I get a good cut in the tree, so we can get through that cambium layer and get the bark off. So we're going to use a knife. I've got a scissors if I need it. You will need some sphagnum moss. Now, so if I pick some up here, if you can see that, we got some sphagnum moss getting ready to hug around our tree and have a place for those roots to grow. So the idea behind an air layer is that we are going to make this one tree into two trees. So we're going to find a spot in this tree right here where we're going to carve. And we're going to carve the bark off, and we're going to carve that green cambium layer where all the nutrients are going up and down the tree to the soft inner woody part. And then we're going to leave that ring all the way around. If you cut that all the way around the tree on a tree outside, you're probably going to kill that tree, right? So I don't know the entire science behind this, but I do know that when you do make this about inch cut, and then we put our sphagnum moss and moisture around this and cover it, the bottom part that you have left of this top part of the tree is going to callus up a little bit, and the roots will want to start to grow there. As you water this plant and the moisture goes up, it's going to create some roots there. And then we'll be able to cut this off in a few months, And this will be a tree up top, and this will be a tree in the bottom, and we'll repot this. Where do I put this? So, from what I've watched on my various how-to videos, you've got all these layers in here where buds can form, and so between the bud layers, if you're going to cut in there, you should be good to go. And so I got a nice spot right in here, right above this section of buds that are trying to form up here. Then there's this whole big dead section up to about here. So if I lower this tree down, from here to here I don't have any buds starting, but the rings of buds that have potentials are all here. There's one here, 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 here. So as you look at the trunk of the tree, you can see the different here, 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 and here. We're going to go ahead and keep all the curvature of this tree though for some already instant movement into my trunk when it's all done. So I'm going to go between here and here. I like it right here because then I'll have a little bit of distance before the movement, and this might end up going under the soil a little bit, so we're going to go right here. So the challenge without having a videographer on hand is I get to do this on a tripod, so I forgive if it's not close enough, or please forgive me. I'm going to do my best. I will show you a close-up of the finished cut here, but we're going to go ahead and just give it a cut so you can kind of see what I'm doing to begin with. Before I do begin though, I want to make sure that I clean off my tool. I don't know the last time I used this knife, to be honest, last summer, spring, fall. I don't remember what I used it on, and I don't remember if I cleaned it off really well. So putting a little rubbing alcohol on here to kill any germs, and make sure I'm not introducing anything to this tree that's been festering on my knife. So what I'm going to do is I picked my spot right here and here, and I want to get about 1 inch or so of space where I'm going to cut off the bark. So I'm going to go ahead and slowly do that. Be careful, of course, when you're using a knife. And we're just going to peel off some of that bark. As you can already see there, I have that little layer going. So I'll get a close up to that in a little bit. But you're just going to slowly peel back that bark layer. This is only about 1/4 inch around. I think having anything bigger than a pencil is ideal for air layering. The bigger the better. I think you have more chances of getting roots. And we're just going to make sure that we're going to get through this first layer. Okay? And again, we're looking for about 1 inch or so. This looks like it's going to be a little bit bigger than 1 inch. I think we'll be fine. I haven't heard the exact science as to why 1 inch, why more, why less. I've watched some videos, and this is where I'm at. We're just going to go for it. I do tend to dig in and just go for it sometimes, but it's after a lot of viewing, a lot of talking to people, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job of covering all my bases for this so far. So, very hard to get a close-up with, I don't really have a great lighting system here to get a better close-up. So I'm just going to talk you through it. Show you a little snapshot here of my cutting. It just shows a lot of white overexposed imagery, so my apologies for that. What you're looking for is that green cambium layer. That green layer under the bark, that's where all the moisture, the nutrients go up the trunk of the tree. That goes up to your branches up top and all your foliage. Okay, so essentially with this really thin branch and this sharp knife, when I'm cutting up here, I got through that layer right off the bat. Pretty much my first carve right through, I got through that. So you want to make sure you get all that green stuff off. And right now, I'm just going to kind of go down and make sure I scrape some of that light green stuff that you just can't see, but I can see with the human eye. A little bit of that cambium leftover pieces, because we want that to be off. It's kind of shaving it off here, curling it up. Okay, so we're going to keep working on this until I have it cleaned up. One of the things I've heard with the other videos that I've watched is that when you're done getting this pretty close to the end, you want to make sure you go through the top and the bottom of the exposed area, and you're going to kind of cut off all these extra little pieces that are kind of frayed and curled up. And you want a nice clean edge for this to callus up, so it's going to have a better opportunity to root. So I have a little bit more loose particles up on the top, so I'm going to make sure that I cut all those away so it's a nice straight bark, no bark. Nice clean division. Bark, no bark. So now I've got some rooting powder here that we're going to go ahead and put on. I'm going to give this a nice little spray. And I have my rooting powder. Being nice and general with that, huh? Not too conservative. Get that all on there. And that's going to help to promote some root growth. So that is our rooting powder. Pretty simple step. And now we have to create something around here to hold all the sphagnum moss in there and have a place for a lot of moisture to hang around and the roots to reach for that moisture and grow. So I can't just take my sphagnum moss and put it on there, it's not going to stay there. So we have a piece of plastic. I don't know if I covered this in the earlier part of the video, but here we go, a piece of plastic. I obviously don't need a piece of plastic this big, so we're going to trim this down to size, and we're going to kind of make a little bit of a wrap around the tree. Alright, so it looks like there's my good bottom. So we'll go around like that. We don't need this to be too huge. Okay. This is just some leftover. What's nice about this plastic is it's got a little bit of a frosted look to it, but it's clear enough where we're going to be able to see when the roots grow. Roots will swell and grow into there. So we're going to tie this down here so we have a place to pack all our sphagnum moss. So I'm going to get my duct tape ready and have a couple pieces ready to go so we can make this thing stick. That works. Alright, so I'm going to take this down here and I'm going to wrap this around. So I have what will be a little bit of a pocket to put our sphagnum moss in. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tape that right down here so it stays. And I'm a good inch or two below where I cut off the cambium layer and did all that. Okay. So I have that right there. Trying to be careful not to break this branch right here. Now I have what will be a pocket for some sphagnum moss. Okay. So there you can see I've kind of made that little area to stuff some sphagnum moss, and now I can go ahead and stuff my tree. So I've got my sphagnum moss in some water, and then we're going to squeeze out that extra water. We don't want this to be too terribly wet. And now I'm going to go ahead and put this around the tree. Just like that. So there's the camera view for you. I'm going to spin it around now so I can have a little easier time tucking this stuff in here. Okay. It's covering not quite all of it yet. Bring out my sphagnum moss, put it in there. I want just a little bit more. Now I'm going to make my effort to close this thing up. I'm going going to squeeze a little more sphagnum moss out. And I want to put that on top. So again, a view for you. You can see that I'm just crisscrossing this right here. So this sphagnum moss. We try to make it so it's equally around the tree. Look for my cut to make sure I'm covering up my cut enough. It seems to be a little low, so I can raise it up a little bit. And let's just put a little bit more on top. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my other piece of duct tape and hope my fingers are not so incredibly wet that it doesn't stick. And squeeze this bag together. And I'm not too worried about it being too tight yet, because I'm going to use the cellophane to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep wrapping this around. Alright, so now we have a nice good bond. I do have a crack here that I could stuff more sphagnum moss in here, but I think we are securely around the tree pretty evenly. So I'm just going to go ahead and make this a final deal. So we cut our bark, we put some rooting powder on, we got our bag on here. Now it's time to give it a little bit of a cellophane wrap. And so we're going to go around and make this a little bit tighter. Kind of prevent those air pockets from forming. Trying to be careful not to break my leftover branch. Remember, this is only about a 1/4 inch thick branch. And I'm doing the air layer on. And go up here now. And kill myself. All right. Tried to rip it, that wasn't going to happen. There you go. Moving this up here, I want to make sure that. All right. So there is my air layer. So we don't want our roots to be soaked in water. This won't be outside for a while, so it won't get drenched with rain, so there won't be any chance for water to get in here, so I'm just going to leave it as is. If I were to bring it outside and worry about raindrops getting into this part of the cellophane wrap here, I'd want to put a couple of holes down here so the moisture could drip out. Right now I've just got the moisture of just the sphagnum moss in there. We're wrapped pretty tight. And as the roots grow, it's going to fill in this bag, and you'll be able to start to see the roots through the bag, and we will be able to see some growth. And if I have to do a couple of holes then, I will take care of that. So there's my air layering. So now I'm just going to water this like I normally would water my tree. I'm going to keep it here in my plant room because it's just too cold in Minnesota to get anything out yet. It's only at the end of the first week of March. So I'm going to keep it here in my plant room, and we'll give you an update on this when we start to see some growth. All right, for Dave's Bonsai, I'm Dave Weiss, and we'll catch you on the next video.